I'm supposed to be busy. I'm supposed to be busy working right now, but it's really just a lot of sitting around. Weekend isn't always that busy. And we just got this 15-minute survey to do, and I'm like, oh no. But I feel like trash today. I feel like I've eaten something bad and it's turned cold in my stomach, and I haven't eaten anything bad. I just feel bad. I'm like going, feel a little bad today. It could be the water. The water's not as clean as ordinary water, I don't believe. However, since it's been raining, it doesn't quite taste like leaf litter, but it hasn't been cleaned or seen to ever since we moved in, so. But, I had a breakfast, pretty good breakfast, but my stomach feels cold. And, I've been, been thinking I feel a bit bad in my mind today, and I'm like, oh, I need a vitamin here, a vitamin there, but, I don't know why I feel bad. If I went to bed perfectly energetic, and today it's like, I don't feel so great. Could be the cold weather. I just, I didn't answer the phone right just then. I'm too slow. They're like saying hello and goodbye real quick. Like, no time to spare. And I'm like, oh, wait, I gotta click on something before I say hello. Anyway, I've had an ill-centered morning today, and I'm like, why do I feel so bad? I felt perfectly good yesterday. It doesn't help that way doing new surveys or anything, but I take vitamins when I feel a bit blue, but I'm thinking if it's the water. Sometimes in the country, we were living in the country, it was cold, the cold got to me, and I ended up like blacking out, and I had to be revived and everything because it was the cold. So it could be a similar instance where there's something getting to me and I don't really quite realize what it is. I might need to move in town to do modelling more seriously, be more available for gigs, but they just have to turn violent. I'm like, why did I move into the city for this company? But I just don't feel that great today. It's like it's all in my stomach today. And a little bit up here. But it's the water. I would first blame the water. Then I would blame the fact that I'm not eating so much because my parent likes to, we haven't had like a very full-bodied salad in a while, and maybe that makes a difference. Or maybe it's just the colder weather or something silly. Either way, but I've got to concentrate on this working because it's what I'm supposed to be doing now in my spare time. It's a big cut of time to earn a few $100s a week. I'm like, why am I earning so little? Why isn't it so much more? But I've got a routine of 9 to 5 going on now, so good luck me cutting that up. I was having memories where I met Britney Spears at Disney World in US, and I'm like, yeah, I did, didn't I? She turns narky if you don't ask her specific permission to be able to take her picture. I learned very quickly. I think she has a bit of a love-hate relationship with other people it comes across, so yeah, but I was like thinking, I did, didn't I? So that's interesting, but I forget about these things because I don't have pictures or anything, and I'm like, it's like a blur, like I said before, it's like a blur of a memory. It's like I don't remember so strongly, but I do remember. And I think I hung around with her a little bit, had a couple of pictures taken, obviously, because we're driving around and stuff. I actually got to hang around with her and visit where she lives and go to one of her stage sets and things, and I'm like, that was pretty cool. But at first it was like, do you take my picture? You haven't asked permission. And I'm like, that was like at Disney World, like the first thing she said to me. And I was like, well, then she seemed to take a little bit of an interest in me, and I ended up visiting a place or some place and venturing around a tiny bit. And I was like, ooh. I even got to be like trained in some of her dances and things because she could tell I could dance a little bit, and I got trained in a couple of her dances and things, and I got to visit one of her stage sets. I was like, oh, this is really cool. But that was ages ago. But yeah, it's interesting. I often find myself in tangled, complicated relationships. They're not just one thing. There are like a variety of different complex emotions and stages where things turn a little bit knocky here, but then in some other stage everyone's being fairly nice. So that's every single relationship I've ever had. It's like, oh, don't like that person, and then it's like, oh wait, I'm hanging out with them. So it's like it's a little bit of a tangle. Some people don't really get it, like how you can not like someone and then end up being friends with them and stuff. And it's like, well, not just friends, like I just did my first survey. Anyway, I was gonna say, I'm often in like tangled relationships, and no one really gets why you would like date people, why you're so up and down with them. And it's like every relationship I've had, it's like up and down. It's like, oh, at first, something unlikable, and then it's like something catches on, and I end up liking the person. So, and then I date the person sometimes, or sometimes I become friends and stuff. And it's like, how can you be like people like? How can you be like that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just the way like every relationship I've ever had is. And I'm like, even like romantic relationships, it's like it's how it is. It's like, oh, they're a little bit dangerous here, but then here they're like really kind, and I really enjoy their personalities. So yeah, that's sort of just how things are. So and I would say, yeah, hanging around with someone like Brittany was no different too. So, or other people that she may have loose acquaintance with, and I also have loose acquaintance with. So I knew a few people back then, which is why I got into trouble for having lived such a varied lifestyle. So I'm working while I'm just talking. So yeah, I got in trouble for living such a varied lifestyle, and it's like I was slammed and told not to do anything, not to walk outside unless someone's giving you explicit permission. And I was like in my early 20s, and they're like, oh, maybe it'd be different if you're in your early 30s, but while you're like 22, say, it's like you're too young. I'm like, what gives? I'm over 18. Everyone over 18 can, do whatever, but in other countries, it's like, oh, 22, 23 is like the minimum age for being able to do things without permission and stuff. And I'm like going, So I had to start my whole life like all over again, so that I didn't meet anyone famous or anyone rich, and start to meet normal people. But in our country, famous and rich people are normal people. Like the people who live next door, and you're like going, oh, that's confusing. I mean, how am I not going to meet someone who lives next door? They don't realize in context, I have met all these people on just a normal basis, like an everyday basis, and I'm like, I haven't like gone to a gala and met someone rich, except for a couple of them. I met them when they were performing, but but I have met these people in everyday context, and I'm like, it just gets a little bit, technically it's a little bit confusing a little bit. I think people just wanted to just have me. But anyway, I think people just wanted me like, oh, we know you, we don't like you, and you're better off not just staying in your room, and not meeting anyone. Anyway, I think people personally didn't like me, and they made an excuse to like swipe my record and have me as a nobody, so, which didn't work really. This is going to be a very bad day. Anyway, I'm still working, which is why there's so many breaks and bits. But yeah. But I felt very sad because someone swiped my memory book. Had pictures. It had, yeah. Anyway, probably someone who I lived with at the time, swiped my memory book, which had a program of when I was a professional dancer and stuff, and photos of my relationships and people I'd been involved with and things, and someone swiped this whole thing that I had of memories that I wanted to keep, and I didn't know where it went. I was told, well, it was probably thrown in the trash, but I didn't know where it went, and I was like, excuse me, that's my private, personal property that actually means something as much as a family album means to a family. So, it's just, I wasn't very happy at all. In fact, I think that's when I sort of gave up and I moved out. Yeah, like I said, I think that was when I gave up living with people and moved out for it must have been at least 6 months, because I was just so angry that I moved out away, and I was like, I really wanted to keep those things because they were my life, and I was like, someone just swiped it. I really hate the people I know most of the time because they've let me down so many times. And I've lost a lot of memories and things that were important to me, and they tried me down off my rising career as a model at some stage, because they're involved in being famous and they have friends who are famous and have money, and they don't spend money on anyone, but they apparently are also famous in some way, and anyway, they totally tried me down when I was just catapulting towards an actual movie. They had made a movie, I was in it, and they were like, no, you can't make that movie because my so-so's in it and I don't want them in it. And I was like, excuse me, they were literally just yelling at me every time I came in from going out, sitting there yelling at me every day. And it's they didn't have they were treating me like so much of a nothing with low respect and everything, and then suddenly I sort of have something going on that's good, and they're like, no, you can't have that, and stuff. And it was the foil of my undoing. It was just something that helped edge towards the undoing of whatever I was doing. And I was like, my big downfall, I guess, in a way. So I'm not supposed to remember. I'm supposed to have wipe my mind clear, and my record has been wiped clear, but I've sort of been remembering lately, and I'm I don't know why, but it's sort of tick-tocked in my mind, and I'm like, yeah, I sort of remember that, and when I think about it, it's yeah, that I was totally screwed over, sort of thing. So, but it could be the fact that I'm sort of applying for model jobs once again, half of which I've probably done before, and most of which I probably have completely bad relationships with. So this survey is going to have so many refusals, it's not funny. It's like, anyway, I'm still sleeping in my mind. I shouldn't have just licked my lips as I did, but I was still half asleep. I was like, oh, I haven't woken up yet. I had to do some dips and stuff to start to wake up, because I totally was half sleeping when I first got on the computer, and I was like, oh, I have to do some exercise. So I did a few minutes of just some dips. But it's all quiet in the house today. I'm by myself, so I'm looking at my weather thing. No cyclones on the verge, so should be pretty safe. It's going to be a pretty dull day, just working. Tomorrow, I don't know what's happening tomorrow. I don't think there's anything going on tomorrow. I got my day off. I can't go anywhere, otherwise I'd go see a movie. I just got refused again. I'm like, I don't know what survey. I'm getting too many refusals. Not many people. It's just no good. At least that one said, oh, it's not a good time. That means that I can make an appointment for another day. If they just say no, you're like, oh, can't do it. But if they say not a good time, you can call back later. Anyway, I was going to make a little outline of my memories in regards to my relationships and be like, oh, I remember them vaguely. I'll probably be a little bit off key, but I'm gonna do another video on that just for memory's sake and just to prove that I do have a memory even though I'm not supposed to. Anyway, I better stop yakking and start working. I'll actually start working on my little outline. It's going to be like a little chart, so it's probably going to be my next video. So I'm going to have to just go because I'm so busy. It's literally, and it's been 18 minutes and I'm just gabbing on about anything that pops into my mind, so better go and do my more productive stuff. Otherwise I'll be just talking, and yeah, it's not a great waste of time. I probably shouldn't even be talking, but I do talk every now and again. But I gotta get off the talking and more into the walking, which means working.